Guys, there are spoilers for this film and this review. So if you don't want to succumb to the scissors, go watch film, then come back. You have been warned. Hey guys, and welcome back to an episode of Off the Shelf. I'm your host, Ronan Time HD, and this week, what we found off the shelf was... Scissor Penis, released in 2018. It was written, directed, and produced by Naoyuki Tomomatsu. I'm very sorry, I definitely mispronounced that. This film was released by Error 4444. We reviewed a lot of their movies. Also, check them out. They're a great distributor. But here's the thing. After that little introduction, I would give a genre. You know, I'd give a plot synopsis. I'd give that. There was a plot, but genre, kind of hard to pinpoint. So you'd assume from this business that it'd be like a horror movie, right? Not really. I mean, there's horror elements. There's like blood fountains and gore and stuff. But I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror movie. It's more like a love story and also a surrealist comedy. Because there are moments in this movie where I'm just like, what in the fuck is happening? That's just like most of the movie. I'm like, what in God's name's happening? And I think it's really funny because there was an introduction with the director on here, and he literally says, he's like, you know, weird film fans in the West are gonna like this movie. And I get, we're the weird Western film fans. And I think, honestly, this film is just one of the most bizarre I've seen maybe ever. Because there will be points in the movie where it'll, like, the narrator of the movie will just go on, like, a fucking 10-minute, 15-minute tangent about, like, sex crimes. And, like, trying to justify, like, you know, molestation, murder, rape, like, trying to justify it. And it's just so batshit insane that you're just sitting there as he's talking at 1,000,000 miles per hour. Then he'll go off about, like, fucking bears and hikers, and then he'll fucking talk about fucking harakiri and, like, old Japanese traditions, and he'll go on a rant about, like, laws, and then he'll talk about the fucking world police, right? He'll just go off and on and on and on. And the director explained that he's being a screenwriter his whole career. He, sometimes when a character goes, like, does a monologue or a speech, he'll write a fuck ton of shit, but usually you're told to, like, trim it down. But since he was the producer, writer, and director, he could do whatever the fuck he wanted. So the 10-minute tangents were just like, that's what he wanted. And he didn't have to trim any of it, because nobody told him to, because he's the boss, right? He's the guy who does all the final decisions. And it's just, it gets to, like, I think there's, like, 3 or 4 tangents, the movie. And it's, like, it got to a point where it was, like, the backstory. So I guess, like, it was just weird. And the movie is not trying to... So, yes, the narrator will go on tangents about justifying these crimes, but that's not the message of the movie. The message of the movie is to end all sex crimes, you know, basically. It's being the point of there has to be a way to stop these criminals from doing these crimes. There has to be a way to stop them, right? And that's kind of the message, right? It's not that people should murder, molest, and rape people. Naturally, that would be a strange message for a movie. But it's the opposite. It's that we should stop that stuff from happening. But at first, it just, like, it was also talking a lot about, like, incel stuff because, like in the West and in Japan, like, incels, big thing, in both countries. And it kind of is just so over the top with everything that it does, right? And it's just, it'll be a point where you have nothing to say, right? There will be a point in the movie we were just like, I'm just here at this point. I'm just along for the ride at this point. I don't even know what to fucking say anymore. And I think that's the best part about it, is because I think the surrealism really adds to it, right? Because I do like that this film does not take itself, like, seriously at all, right? It's all basically one big joke about, and it's the love story of Scissor Penis, right? He's desperate to have sex and have a real relationship with a woman, but he just can't, right? And then his penis turns into 3 swords, so it's a little more difficult as well. But then he finds his soulmate, guillotine pussy. That's it. That's pretty much the premise. He's like, and then he murders his ex-wife earlier in the movie, and then that ex-wife is the like, her spirit gives him the scissor penis. So yeah. It's weird because I feel like the only way to really understand the movie is to just watch it. And as you can tell, this is a bit of a blue movie, right? And I wouldn't say it's like just straight up porn, but there is quite a bit of, there's like taboo stuff in there, right? So this is definitely not safe for YouTube, I'd say. Like, I don't think you could find this movie on YouTube. But I would recommend it, in the fact that it is just so goddamn bizarre, and it's just, I've never seen another movie like it, and I think that's the thing. And I don't know. I enjoyed it for how much it just made me, like, just gobsmacked, I guess, the entire time. I'm like, it cannot get crazier than this, and then it does, right? And it literally, at the beginning, it says it's one of Aesop's fables. It said at the beginning, it's one of Aesop's fables. It's one of the lost stories, and that's kind of funny. And I don't know. I don't know, honestly, what else to say aside from the surrealism, the absurdity of it. And I just think that, I think they accomplished what they were going for, right? Just an absolutely just batshit insane surrealist comedy love story. If that doesn't make sense, I don't know, but it makes sense to me in its own strange way. And I just genuinely think that, sorry. I was going to mention something earlier, but I didn't mention it then. This movie was inspired by something I'd actually never really heard of before, called V cinema, which was a thing in Japan. I'm not certain if it was a thing here. It might have. I think it was just in Japan, where video stores originally, they just had, like, you know, just cinema stuff. They would just take, like, movies that were in the theater and put them in the video store, but eventually demand was so high that they couldn't keep up. So they made videos or movies specifically for the video store, which was V cinema. Video cinema, I guess, is a good way to put it. And essentially, they would give directors, like, a couple weeks to make the whole movie, right? And they would have, like, say, a 5-part series of a movie, but what they would do is they would just fast forward to the action part. So they're like, what if we just made a whole movie full of action? Or just, it was all ridiculous, basically. All the V cinema movies were just kind of, I feel like if they're like this movie, I might want to watch them, but I hadn't have heard of them till now, and I just felt like it was worth mentioning. And it was an interesting anecdote. Sorry if it kind of interrupted my train of thought. I kind of went down a crossroads there. Much like this movie, this here, it's like a stream of consciousness. It's just one flow of insanity, right? It's just so crazy. I know I keep using different adjectives to describe insane, but I just think I can't really think of any other word to describe it. And genuinely, I think also the low budgetness of it really helps, because, like, when the actors are running like maniacs down the sidewalk, there's just, like, fucking regular people riding their bike and, like, just walking down the sidewalk, and you can see them, and they look like they're fucking crazy, right? And that's the best part. And sometimes they're, like, yelling random shit, like, I want somebody to have sex with me, as they're just, like, running down the street with swords coming out of their crotch. Like, it's just funny. It's, even though the street isn't that populated, I guarantee they did it when streets weren't that populated. but I just think it's funny. Like, imagine you're just, like, walking down the street, you're, like, at a cafe or something, and you just see some dude with swords coming out of his crotch just running down the street going, please have sex with me. I don't know. I don't know. I just think that's a funny scenario. And, again, I'm just kind of waffling here. But that being said, I don't think there is that much to say about the film. I literally think you just have to watch it. And if any of the things I just said now, you know, the weirdness of it, the kind of, you know, risque nature of it, if none of that sounds appealing to you, you won't like it, right? This movie, I think, is quite an acquired taste. I do not think this movie is for everybody. But I think if you are a connoisseur of the strange, a connoisseur of the macabre, that's a straight, I don't know. I'm just saying fancy words. But if you like weird things, this is right up your alley. This film is so fucking weird, and I would recommend it under that pretense. And with that being said, on an enjoyment scale, I think I'm rating this movie off how much I liked it, how much I enjoyed it, mind you. So if I rated a movie lower than this, you might think is better. Don't take it personally. It might be a better movie, but I just enjoyed this movie more. Maybe just understand that. I will rate this movie a 7.5 out of 10, and I just rated it. And, yeah, I think I've said what I say. Thank you for some peace. So, guys, I hope you like this video. Share it with your friends. Subscribe. Turn those notifications on. Comment down below once you liked it. And I've been RTMHD. Off to stop all sex crimes. So, I actually remember this guy talking, like, he had an interview, and I watched the whole interview, actually, for this, I think it was especially for this release, and he was talking about how he had this 5-film saga called Rape Zombie. And apparently the first one was really successful, so I guess the company that produced the film allowed him to make 2 more, and they flopped really hard. But even though they flopped really hard, but the first one was successful, so they were like, you know, we'll let him make 4 and 5 to conclude the series, even though they dropped even harder, which is kind of funny. But at least they let him finish the epic saga of Rape Zombie. You know, that's one for the ages. You know, it's gonna be a legendary tale that they tell for centuries. So, guys, there are...
No.